Hello everyone. Phoenix61 here with your Legends hoopla for the week, right? So we are going to chit-chat about Warhammer. This is a returning collaboration from several years ago, so we were looking at the Ragnarok ship, right? And so I don't know, I have some mixed feelings here about your choices in the store, which we will go into, right? But there's a couple of commanders that I would like to have, and I'll tell you my picks, right? But go in the store this week, there is this Battle of Midway mission that you can pick up. Basically gives you some stuff to do, like play the game, right? So we'll go check it out. But yeah, Waves of Midway, so this is the mission we just picked up, right? So it's basically play the game, play, Japanese or American ships. And then you get like a spring big crate or summer big crate or whatever, right? Like at the end of it. So nothing crazy, but you might as well pick it up if you're going to play, and then you'll get it, right? And then I in here, I forgot to grab my daily reward for the day, so get that, right? Your daily common crate. Retrofuturism stuff, right? This is still in the store. We talked about this when this first released a couple of weeks ago, or a week before, whatever it was. I don't really recommend any of that stuff in there, but you can go check those videos out. But yes, now there is this Warhammer stuff. There are crates, and then there are the sort of packages that come with the tier 6 ship and the commander, right? So I'll blaze through each of these really, really quickly because I don't think there's anything too special about the ships. They're, for the most part, right, this is a British destroyer at tier 6. It is very similar to the British Tech Tree tier 6 destroyer, right? So it's like slightly modified stats, and it looks freaking cool, right? That's your biggest thing, is going to be it looks cool, right? And then this smart guy, right? He's going to be a commander, and it's kind of meant to be paired with it, right? Which is fine, but you could use him on your other British destroyers as well. This ramming spikes base trait is, while interesting and sounds fun, it's so rare that you ram ships that I think it feels, for the most part, wasted for the vast majority of the games that you play. He does have this Bernie Daka skill, which is increase HE shell fire chance and damage, but also increases the amount of damage incoming to your destroyer, which would be bad, right? He's got stand or fall, right, which would increase your reload speed for torps and main battery. You got to think about, like, with that, it's like, maybe 50%. At 50% hull health, right, you're getting maybe a 10% boost, right? So nothing crazy, and then you're also kind of low. And then, yeah, rather be torching for the legendary perk. You could pair that with his other, fire setting perks, right? And be a pretty good fire setting, give you some fire setting chance boost or whatever you want to call it, right? And then Cross of Dorn, right? So this is a German cruiser. It is, again, quite similar to the tier 6 German cruiser. You get choice between engine boost and AA. And you do get catapult fighter, right? Nothing crazy there. So again, I'll just really quick blaze through specs. These are kind of a little more AP focused. I tend to do... My problem is, a lot of times with cruisers, I don't use AP shells enough, and with German cruisers, you probably should use them more. So, but yeah, we'll blaze through those stats there. Now, the commander on this one is kind of one that I'm a little bit interested in, right? But there's your Citadel for Cross of Dorn. And then, of course, they're all tier 6 is pretty good for, especially with cruisers, is pretty good for, you always get the money maker perk on the premium ships, right? Where you'd earn some extra silver, right? Tier 6 is kind of a good farming, credit farming, tier, right, for premiums with earning silver. But anyway, so this commander I am kind of interested in for a few reasons here we'll talk about, right? He would pair really good with the ship that, you get with the package, but you get better reload time and more AP shell damage as a base trait. That's good for putting on other commanders too. I'd probably go beyond range. He's got igniter here, increased chance of fire, but what I would probably go with is this Kraken shells. Increased cruiser speed, fine, that's great and funny and dandy, right? But AP pen multiplier up to 10% more, and then you would also use punch through to get another 6% AP shell multiplier and another 10% damage, right? So this might be my my choice. We'll see, right? I've spent too much money on commanders lately, but anyway. And then you could do refill station or fully packed. I wouldn't, I'd go either way with that one, right? But on the higher tier ships, right, you're going to have more consumables like heals and stuff, right? And so, but like on the lower tier ships, I probably, I don't need an extra engine boost, right, for like the tier 6, right? So I'd probably use the refill station. But the other thing too with him is going to be, he's probably pretty good to put on Hindenburg, I would say, right? So Hindenburg, some of the more popular content creators out there than me, right? They get early access to these ships, right? They get to trial them for a couple days or something, right? But it does have pretty slappy AP shells, right? 6,000 there, and so I think that commander would go really good with Hindenburg, right? So that might be that would be what would persuade me to pick that one up. Yeah, and then the other one that I'm kind of, would be Arthas, right? This package here, Ragnarok, right? This is it's a Japanese tier 6 battleship. It's nothing. I don't think it's that much different than the tech tree one, right? It's the same kind of things. Like, right, the stats are going to always be just slightly different, and then it's a premium, right? So you'd get a little bit more silver earnings, right? That's like fine, all fine and dandy, right? So, yeah, I'm not like, I don't need the ship. It's nothing, it'd be different if it was like, oh, they like really crazy secondary range or something, but it's very, very typical of your Japanese tech tree battleships. So I don't think I need the ship, but if you want Arthas the Cold, you'd have to pick that up or try your luck with crates. But basically what this is, the reason that people like this one is because he's got this Blind Rage perk, which is his base trait, which you would then put as an inspiration on your other battleship commanders to get this 20% more damage while the catapult fighter is up, right? So on a battleship or cruiser, right? He's got some other, ship's shell damage, right? Like he's fine otherwise. He's not, this is kind of his unique perk, right? But the reason you would want this one would be for the base trait, right? So then you would put that other places, as inspirations, right? The thing is too, with this update though, he kind of got shadow nerfed, and what I mean by that is, right, what they did is they've shortened the duration that catapult fighters are up for, right? So they nerfed how long the catapult fighters will stay up. So they'll go for let's take a peek at like Montana, for example, right? So if you were doing like a damage build, you could go in here, change this to catapult fighter. Now you do get 6 of them. The duration is 60 seconds, right? And so what do you say, like a little bit less than 30 seconds for your reload, depending on your build, right? So and then he's got a nerf where it's like reduces the duration of it by like 35% or something, right? So you're thinking like 21 seconds less that your fighter's up there for, right? So you would launch the fighter right as shells are about to hit the enemy, and then you would maybe get one more salvo, and then that would probably be it, right? But you would have that, if you timed it right, you'd have 6 of those fighters to put up. So then 12 salvos, which is for a battleship perspective, that's quite a bit, right, throughout the game, right? So that would be what would kind of persuade me to go that direction, right? But I could easily pass on it. It's not a must-have to me, right? There's other damage doing, people you could put as inspirations, right? So this is the last choice here, right? This is an American tier 6 battleship. Again, Ignis Purgatio, right? I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. It looks very, very similar to, the Colorado would be your kind of equivalent, right? Now, all of these ships look way cooler, right? Like, I love the skins on these, right? This does have superior HE damage and superior HE pen, so my guess would be, whereas the Colorado is probably more AP, powerful there, right? So then my guess would be that, they've made this kind of more of a fire spammy variant, and then it kind of shows with the commander perk, which is, increased chances of fire, but it's only while your repair party is going, right? So I'm like, meh, right? And then he's got some damage nerf, perks in here while damage con is active, but right, that only lasts a few seconds, so yeah. And then he's got, the rest of his choices are very typical of a battleship commander, right? So I don't need him and I don't need the ship, right? Like it's too niche case for me, right? Like while repair party is active, right? 40% damage, right? Like, or 40% increase in fire, right? So that's another thing. You work it almost the same way as Arthas, right? Where you would pop it right as your shells are about to hit. Then yeah, you think about it, you only get 3 repair party consumables that last 32 seconds each. So you're thinking 1, maybe, no, I think you'd be stuck with 1 salvo there, right? So, and then crates are, what they needed to do was, the crates are kind of messed up for Warhammer still. So we'll go take a peek at the chances, right? There's 3 different crates, and the frustrating thing here is, I'll show you, right? But basically, there's two of the crates are unique for one commander and 1 ship, right? Like, and then the Warhammer 4000 one, right? So this is your normal one. It only has a chance to drop, the either Gratimas or Augustin Ridgerald, right? And then the corresponding ships, right? So 5% chance drop for either of those. Right, and and normally it was like, with what they do with Commander, with collaboration crates or whatever, normally they'd be like 10% chance, right? So now it's 5%, and it's 5% for each one. And so you can get a duplicate there, and then you wouldn't, yeah. So that, I dislike that, right? So, and keep in mind with these crates too, like your biggest chance of drops are like camos and XP and credits and stuff, right? So stuff that you would get just from playing the game anyway. But then, yes, the Chaos crates are unique to the Battleship Ragnarok and Arthas, the Cold, which would be a 10% chance for Arthas, right? So, which is, better than the 5%, right? But, and then the Imperium one is the same kind of thing, but for the Commander Justinian Lions, right? And the Battleship Ignis Purgatio, right? So, and 10% for the Commander and 5% for the ship, right? So yeah. So I don't know, like we might avoid, I don't know. You could pick up, if you wanted, for example, if you wanted Arthas, right, you could go in here and take your chances with, you get 8 chaos crates for the 5,400, right? If you think about it, so you get those chances for all that other stuff to drop, too. Normally if you buy a commander outright, right, if they sell them individually, they're usually 5,000 doubloons, right? Which is what I would do, right? If they had that option, I would probably buy, right, the German cruiser commander and then Arthas, right? I'd probably get Augustin, right, and then Arthas and spend the 10,000 doubloons, right, potentially, right? But anyway, you do you, right? Like, but that's out there, right? Arthas is big for damage builds. There's remembering D-Day stuff in here and ships, right? And I almost never advocate for buying ships outright. Hector Waller's in here, right? So this is a, I want to say he's a standard commander, but the problem is it's for this Commonwealth. And for Commonwealth, I think I only have 4 ships, right? There's no tech tree build, there's no tech tree ships for this, right? They've all been premium drops from either, campaigns or like special events or like whatever, right? So, you would really only need him or want him, at least currently, right? If you had Vampire 2, the legendary ship. So that would be really the only real reason to pick him up. From there, I mean, you could also just pick him up just to have him. He is, free-ish, right? Because he only costs he costs Commander XP. So you could just pick him up to have him. That way, in case another destroyer comes around, or whatever. Or if they open up a tech line for it, But he does have this Steadfast Soldier perk, which kind of makes up for, Vampire's health situation, right? Where it's almost like his little mini will to rebuild, right, variant, right? Which basically you get some repair if your hull is less than 30% and you're close to an enemy as well, right? So a little tricky and sketch to use, but that's what I was using on my Vampire. So, and it was working pretty good. It's a fun ship, right? So, and then I do have a Vampire, 1 or whatever that I don't know what that was from, but it's a tier 2, right? So But yeah, so, and then, yeah, there's also, yeah, so you could pick him up. I think there were, yeah, there's the Hunt for Bismarck stuff in here, I think is newer this, last week or so as well. Right, and it's ships. None of these are anything that I would say I absolutely need. There are, yeah, there's Prince Eugen, right? You could get, this is a tier 7 German cruiser, right? So you could use that German cruiser commander on this too, but he's got superior AP damage. And then there's Bismarck and Hood camos in here, right? That look great, but I'm kind of, they're nothing crazy good, like cool. So I'm fine with whatever I don't even know what I'm using on my Bismarck, right? But there's some promotion orders in here if you have global XP and you're desperate for promotion orders, right, to help up your commanders. There's also a commander's crate. You can buy a crate too. So it looks like it'll let you buy this one 3 times. So you could get 15 promotion orders for trading in your global XP for that, right? And then there was a commander crate you could buy for $1.5 million or something here at the end of that. Even though you can always buy commander crates for silver in the store each week too. But yeah, Battle of Jutland was in here previously as well. Again, nothing in there that I would say is a must-have, but we talked about that previously, right? So there's this Commander's Pack that's in here. You can buy this once a week. I pick it up if I have enough silver for it, right? But yeah, because what you would do, even if you have all the commanders, right? If you get duplicates, right, you're going to get commendations, instead. And so then I use the commendations to upgrade the commanders, right? So I'll buy the free-ish one every once in a while if I've got enough silver for it. But yeah. So that's kind of my take on the Warhammer stuff, right? You would maybe do Ragnarok and this Ridgerwald guy too, but and like I said, the ships look great, right? Like I like how the ships look, but it's a bit pricey for cosmetics stuff, right? I granted that the stats are a little bit different, but yeah. So that's our shtick for the day, our spiel for the day, guys. Thanks for watching all the way through. I try to do Legends videos every day, so make sure you're following the channel. Thank you everyone who regularly watches, comments, and follows and participates in live stream. I do appreciate you guys make it fun for me. But yeah, so make sure you're following, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.